While looking for ideas for a new video on awards, I came across this website, which won Site of the Day on the 24th of June. One section immediately caught my attention. In the background, images are constantly floating upward in an endless loop. As you scroll down, they continue moving in the same direction, and as soon as you scroll back up, they smoothly reverse direction, making the whole effect feel really responsive and alive. So I decided to recreate something similar using React and GSAP, and this is what I came up with. It uses individual GSAP timelines for each image, smooth fade and scale transitions, and a really neat trick with timescale to reverse the entire animation based on the scroll direction. If you enjoy these kinds of animation tutorials and front-end effects, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. Now, let's jump into the code. Inside app.jsx, there's not much going on. I just have a hero spacer, the streaming gallery component, and a footer spacer. Inside the component, we start with a section element and attach a ref to it, which we'll use later with GSAP. It takes up the full viewport, hides any overflowing content, and also acts as the container for both the floating images and the content that sits on top. Next, I'm creating a wrapper for all the floating images, and inside it, I simply map over an images array imported from the assets file. Each object in that array contains the image, its horizontal position, size, and a custom delay. This keeps the JSX clean while making it easy to adjust the layout and stagger the animation just by editing the data. For each image, I create a floating image container. Its position, size, and animation delay all come directly from the array, and I also store the delay as a data attribute so we can easily access it inside the GSAP animation. Notice that every image starts just below the viewport by setting the top value to 100%. From there, the animation will move them upward continuously. Inside each floating image container, I simply render the image and make it fill the entire container while maintaining its aspect ratio using object cover. Finally, I'm adding the main heading. It sits above the floating images, creating the layered hero section effect. Before starting with the GSAP animation, let's import GSAP and use GSAP, and then register the plugins. After that, I create a ref for the main container. We'll pass this to use GSAP as the scope, so all of our selector lookups stay limited to this component. Now inside useGSAP, I first select all the floating image elements. Then, I create an empty array to store their timelines. We'll need those timelines later so we can control all of the animations together when the user scrolls. Next, I define a base duration for the animation, and then derive the entrance and exit durations from it. This way, if I ever change the overall animation speed, the fade-in and fade-out timings stay perfectly in sync without having to update multiple values manually. I also calculate when the exit animation should begin, so each image starts fading out just before it completes its upward movement. Next, I loop through all the floating images. For each one, I read its custom delay from the data attribute and create a separate GSAP timeline that repeats infinitely. Then, I add the main animation to that timeline. The image starts from its initial position and continuously moves upward until it's well outside the viewport. Since the timeline repeats forever, this creates the endless floating effect. Next, I add an entrance animation at the very beginning of the timeline. As each image starts moving upward, it smoothly fades in and scales up, making the animation feel much more natural. Near the end of the timeline, I add an exit animation that scales the image back down and fades it out before the loop starts again. Finally, I store each timeline in the array we created earlier. We'll use these timelines in the next step to reverse the animation direction when the user scrolls. With the floating animation complete, the next step is to detect the scroll direction. I start by storing the current scroll position, and then create a scroll handler to compare it with the new position. If the user is scrolling down, I animate every timeline's timescale to 1, allowing all of the images to continue moving upward at a smooth pace. If the user scrolls upward, I simply animate the timescale to -1. This reverses each timeline, causing the images to move downward instead of upward. Finally, I update the stored scroll position so it's ready to compare again on the next scroll event. Finally, I attach the scroll event listener so the animation can respond whenever the user scrolls. I also set passive to true, which helps improve scrolling performance. And in the cleanup function, I remove the scroll listener when the component unmounts to avoid unnecessary event listeners. And here's the final result. Using React and GSAP, we built an endlessly floating background where each image follows its own timeline, smoothly fades in and out, and even reverses direction based on the user's scroll. It's a simple effect, but it adds a lot of life to a hero section. If you enjoyed the video or learned something new, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.